Hello there, welcome along to Business Today. I'm Joram Paul Sonko with Wida Williams and Akochi on Sign Language. We're coming to you live from Block 42, Nile Avenue. This is Business Today. Now, kicking it off, we start with the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda, who has reassured the nation that the current inflation will last till 2024 and that the increase in productivity and value addition is the only way to lower it. Samana Hanifa with the report.
The Deputy Governor, who testified before the Finance Committee to address the concerns about inflation in the nation, told the MPs that there is no immediate solution to the current inflation, which he claims is a global problem brought on by occurrences such as COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war, and that the only way for Uganda to escape this situation is to increase more productivity with value addition.
How do we increase production and value addition to solve this perpetual problem of reserves? Because through value addition, let me emphasize it again. First of all, through increased production, we can produce more cash crops for export. Through value addition, we can have import substitution to conserve on forex. Through value addition, we can have more manufactured exports, agro-processed exports that fetch more value for our exports. So that means we are increasing the availability of foreign currency through import substitution and more exports through manufactured goods and agro products. So really, issue is production.
The Bank of Uganda continues to manage liquidity, raising questions from the MPs as to why this is happening, given that the people desperately need the money to expand their production in order to escape their difficult circumstances.
Isn't it then surprising that instead of stimulating production, which you partly talked about, reacting to the pressures on the supply side, and also to help the businesses recover from the impact of COVID and all what we've gone through, you've instead impacted on the liquidity?
Ugandans expect service delivery, especially in the road sector, health sector, education. And because of trying to control inflation, all these sacrifices are being made for the time being, rightfully being made. What, therefore, should government do right in the short run?
Legislators are also concerned about how quickly the nation is continuing to borrow money at high interest rates from both local and foreign sources, fearing that this could deplete the nation's reserves as most of them are used to pay off debts.
Deliberately scat out other issues that mount to national debt. For example, arrears. People who have supplied government in their trillions and they are not paid. Is it not part of our national debt?
Richard Wanda from Bungoko County has also voiced his dissatisfaction with the way the Ugandan shilling has been losing value against the other currencies over time.
Some time back when I began understanding, the Uganda shilling I think was around 1,000, 2,000 equivalent to the dollar. The trend has been a loss of value all the time up to where we are. And my biggest concern is that this trend is not, we are not seeing a way of it reducing or coming down.
On the other hand, the Deputy Governor has taken note of the MP's worries and reassured them that the Bank of Uganda is doing everything in its power to control inflation by regulating liquidity, which is the reason why some product prices have begun to decline. However, he has counselled them to carefully review the budget and make sure that the funds are allocated to expand export output in order to generate foreign exchange. Additionally, he pointed out that the climate change, which led to prolonged droughts and a consequent decrease in agricultural production, even though agriculture is the foundation of the economy, was a contributing factor in Uganda's inflation.
We, as the central bank, we are trying our best to manage our liquidity, and we have raised the central bank rate, and depending on the data that comes out, we will try to ensure that we achieve the 5% inflation objective in the medium term. So our projections are that our actions to date, all right, should deliver average inflation of about 8 to 10% in 2023, and then we will be back to 5% in 2024. Let me repeat. Inflation, our projection is that in 2023, it will be anywhere between 8 and 10%, and it should be down to 5% in 2024.
Uganda's inflation rate is at 10.7% as we speak, and Bank of Uganda is continuing to manage liquidity in the country, as well as encouraging Ugandans to increase production with value addition. The question is, where is the money going to come from for this production? Samla Hanifa, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now away from that, we talk matters integration of the East African community, as the East African Community Affairs has revealed plans to minimize trade barriers within the community through the treaty, which has a clear report mechanism on the bilateral framework and resolutions of non-tariff obstacles to trade, establishment of free trade on goods and services amongst themselves, and agreed on a single external tariff whereby imports from countries outside the East African Community Zone are subject to the same tariff when sold to any other East African Community partner state. Mathani Msima with more.
In order to integrate the EAC, the East African Community demands a legal framework that combines collaboration, decision-making, and political federations. Uganda is steadily expanding its common market by focusing on NTBs and harmonizing tax regimes, which will allow us to accomplish all of the integration agenda's pillars. If EAC works hard and cooperates, they will eventually reach that development target.
Integration, we have already overcome the first one. We are now into the common market, and that shows you that we are on track, progressing towards the last one, which is the federation. So it's going to be easy for as long as there is a political will. What precipitates all this is about the political will. Now, at the summit level, our heads of state are extremely committed to making sure that we achieve the last mile in the integration process of the EAC. Well, how immediately we achieved the last mile in the integration agenda, the last pillar, which is political federation, we believe all these other issues, especially concerning the NTBs, the framework, mainstreaming the monetary and the fiscal policies, we will really achieve harmony in terms of our tax regimes. Because one of the requirements for the establishment or the achievement of the political federation is that we need to harmonize all our fiscal and monetary regimes and also the tax policies.
The leadership of the EAC has substantially aided in the development of this community by directing, conducting research, and overseeing decision-making among the member nations. Although the committee has established frameworks to address these issues, there is still a problem with the policymakers, dealers, and administrators who continue to impede advancement in terms of superiority and transparency.
The challenges that are coming in is people still think as though they are sovereign states. Even when we are moving towards one single political unit, people still remain thinking that they are what? They are single states. So there's that resistance in terms of traders, in terms of administrative arrangements, whereby if you want to take the goods to Kenya, administratively police can stop you, or the local authorities can stop you. Those are the kind of things. But there are frameworks, again, to sort those out. That's the good thing of being organized the way we are organized at every level. There are frameworks for us to sort that out.
The treaty's articles support the partner nations and other regional economic groups' efforts to broaden and deepen their cooperation for their mutual benefit in a variety of political, economic, and social spheres. The Interreligious Council and EAC collaborate to achieve these articles' objective.
If the articles in the treaty provide for our inclusion and our participation, then the treaty needs to be put in place and action taken, and the faith-based organizations be allowed to participate in the affairs of the East African region. So at this stage, we are not yet included, and therefore our role cannot be spelled out until we've been included officially. The council to sit and make proposals for our participation as the East African Interreligious Council, as simple as that. Because once they sit and take a decision, then we'll present all our representations from different nations. Maybe what I should have said would be that they need to take action, even with a little few.
The EAC is broadening and enhancing cooperation among the partner states in numerous important fields for their mutual benefit as one of the world's fastest growing regional economic blocs. As seen by the optimistic advancement of the East African Customs Union, the creation of the Common Market in 2010, and the execution of the East African Monetary Union Protocol, the regional integration process is currently in full motion. Martha Nimsima, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's talk matters Uganda and cryptocurrency. Now, despite the fact that neither the government nor the central bank has any control over cryptocurrencies,
in May 2000
in Uganda who trade and make investments in them do so fully at their own risk. Now, if you're to look at them, on the other hand, blame the government and other government agencies for ignorance, claiming that cryptocurrency is a serious business. Patterson Mubere reports.
In May 2022, the Bank of Uganda issued a notice warning the public against using cryptocurrencies to transact business, saying it has not licensed any company to offer the services. The Bank of Uganda noted that this is in line with the official government position as communicated by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. The cybersecurity expert Nohabadi Nsanvu claims that while every new technology like cryptocurrency may express setbacks, it is still a good idea to invest in it.
So if we can have information moving as easy as that, if I can send you a message like a WhatsApp and you get it instantly, why can't we do that for money? So cryptocurrencies solve this question. So it's an evolution. Like any new technology, it's going to have its growth pains. I'm a cybersecurity expert, so I can speak to its integrity as a technology. It's one of the most secure technologies, but that doesn't make it immune to human weaknesses. There are always going to be fraudsters. You know, people talk about scams and Ponzi schemes. This didn't start with cryptocurrencies. They started long ago. Ponzi is actually named after a person called Charles Ponzi, who existed in 1911, who used to con people off their hard-earned money, long before crypto. So as long as they are human beings, there are always that group of people who want to cheat. And so because the technology is still new, people are still understanding that, many people don't understand how it works, so they can easily be taken advantage of. And that's where these things fail. The solution that we have is to keep educating people, let people know more about cryptocurrencies. So it is safe if it is used by people who know.
But for cryptocurrency users, it's frequently the case that the ways they do their business in Uganda reflect the same values and priorities that motivated them to buy a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
Okay, setting up regulation next year. India already has a cryptocurrency tax of 30%. Like, it has already adopted the cryptocurrency. Nigeria last week set up the e-Naira, which is a central bank cryptocurrency. So Uganda may be slow to adopt it, but it is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. Eventually, we are going to get on board. We might get on board late.
They argue that given that other nations like Nigeria are adopting the same technology, it is therefore important to fund an organization that recognizes and promotes the special value of cryptocurrencies. They also urge to the government to conduct additional research on how cryptocurrency is working.
Form of living much easier. Say, for example, cryptocurrency is allowing us to make micropayments to get a taxi from the airport up to this point with paying in cryptocurrency. Yeah, people are being remitted funds through cryptocurrency, and then you just easily cash out for Ugandan currency. So you trust it because it has been trusted by many people. But of course, it's a bet. What I mean by a bet is that the market keeps fluctuating, and the cryptocurrency market is very volatile. So one time it's up, one time it's down. Yes. So right now, this specific moment, we're having a downtrend.
This has happened at a time when Cello Africa has introduced the Cello Africa Web3 Fund to support businesses in Uganda, including those who trade in cryptocurrencies, after Kenya, Nigeria, among others.
Looking at understanding and education, it's something that we grapple with on a daily basis, in that when you think about cryptocurrencies being new, blockchain, all these fancy terms going out there, the wananchi, the person on the street, may not understand exactly what is being talked about. So education is a very big pillar of what we're trying to do. We try to hold workshops like this one that kind of raises public awareness about what is happening and how you can be able to break it down. Also kind of having like native approaches to the education question by having grassroots movements, having local content that they can be able to understand in their local languages. So for the case of Uganda, for the case of the foundation, we have ambassadors in various countries that help us localize the mission and be able to actually talk to people at the grassroots level. So education is a very big pillar in as far as getting adoption through understanding of the masses.
Much as many people who adopt to cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin made huge returns in their investment, you need to be aware of the risks involved in investing in digital currencies. Pedson Mumbere, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Now, alcohol is claimed to be the new gun killing the Karamojongs. Besides the accelerating food insecurity and death in the region, excessive consumption of alcohol has been identified as one of the major causes of poverty in Uganda, as it leads to declined productivity. Despite having few supports, the fellow Tororo MP Sarah Opendi is presenting a bill to regulate alcohol consumption in the country. This and more with Ronan Howe.
Policymakers and public health advocates frequently and vehemently debate the consumption of alcohol among Karamojong communities in the eastern northern Uganda. The Tororo female MP Sarah Opendi is putting out a plan to regulate alcohol that does not have many supporters in the legislature. State Minister for Relief and Disaster Preparedness spoke in light of this.
The sale of liquor in Karamoja is unregulated, untaxed, and it comes into the region through various supply chains, including vehicles, motorbikes, and bicycles. In 2004, Uganda registered the highest consumption of liquor with a 19.47 liters per capita. Another study also indicates that 54.5% of people in Karamoja are alcohol consumers.
And then these people can have issues now, issues of alcoholism. We have places that alcoholism has been taken up. When you look at Karamoja, that's the number one challenge. Most of the people who died during the July to date of the last issues of disaster, it is alcoholism, most of it, because when you don't eat food, a normal meal, and then you take waraji, I'm sure medics are here, you will definitely get hypoglycemia. And hypoglycemia means you don't have sugar levels in your body, you just dry up and die. So this is it. But so it is a very good idea. Now,
Opendi seeks to introduce the alcohol control bill, but how this will affect the alcohol brewers in the nation is a question of time.
Cap 93, the Portable Spirits Act, Cap 97, and the Nguli Manufacturing and Licensing Act, Cap 86, all enacted in the 1960s, have become obsolete and do not address the current circumstances and challenges caused by the excessive consumption of alcoholic drinks. Concerned that the harmful use of alcoholic drinks causes a high burden of disease and has significant social and economic consequences, and often results in harm to other people, such as family members, friends, co-workers, and the greater society, recalling that the World Health Organization Global Status Report on Alcohol and Health of 2018 ranked Uganda among the top alcohol per capita consuming countries in Africa and has been ranked the leading per capita consumer of alcohol in East Africa.
She goes on to say that it is a duty of the government to safeguard the lives of its people, since an economically strong and thriving nation will result from doing so.
To regulate the manufacture, importation, sale, and consumption of alcoholic drinks, to license persons trading in alcoholic drinks and premises where alcoholic drinks are sold, to prohibit the sale of alcoholic drinks to specified persons, to regulate the promotion and advertisement of alcoholic drinks, to create public awareness on the dangers of the excessive consumption of alcoholic drinks, to rehabilitate, counsel, and treat persons who have developed mental challenges arising from excessive use of alcoholic drinks.
In practice, it is recommended that the sensitization activities already going on should continue and possibly be expanded. But proper coordination is needed with other agencies, both in government and non-government organizations, operating in the same field of fighting alcohol abuse. Runana Habwe, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's look at the Credit Reference Bureau, as details coming in from this situation shows that a Ugandan First Indigenous Credit Reference Bureau that facilitates 500 credit checks daily and 10,000 mobile credit score reviews has been instituted to Tier 4 or non-deposit accessing institutions to aid in the creation of sustainable communities for the under and the privileged. We have more with Ron Nahawe.
Today, Tier 4 microfinance institutions or non-deposit taking institutions have met with other partners including Bank of Uganda, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, in order to introduce the credit referencing services that helps them reduce risk on borrowing and also track down multiple borrowers. This is in a bid of helping or regulating the regulatory authority of microfinance institutions here in Uganda. Due to limited infrastructure for information exchange and borrower identification, the majority of licensees cannot share information about their credit histories of borrowers, which exposes them to significant credit risk and raises borrowing costs. The Tier 4 industry's lack of access to lending reference bureaus has been a significant barrier to the growth of private sector credit. Access to financing is frequently cited by large, small, and medium-sized businesses as the biggest obstacle to their operations.
Institutions that are willing to share that data with us, and we have built platforms to enable them to submit data through API, through SFTP. So all these tools, infrastructures have been put in place.
70% of borrowers, according to New Grid, are creditworthy, indicating that information is available, but the mechanisms used to gather it need to be improved.
The key informant to a number of different business, not only financial institutions. So when you speak of the big data in a broader perspective, you are even talking about the vendors, the mobile money agents. All that is data that informs business decision making. So for the government and for us who are licensed to collect this data, what we're doing is to put up tools in place to enable data collection. And I think that's where the challenge is. Data is there, but the collection. And the good thing is that Bank of Uganda has opened up the space. So everyone, even schools, landlords can actually share data. So the regulation is there and it's upon us.
A Bank of Uganda representative suggested that the reputation collateral will aid microfinance institutions in making educated decisions and in the long run eliminate non-performing loans or provide access to more affordable loans.
The importance of credit information sharing is that it helps now the last mile credit consumers who do not have this collateral, especially as mostly we look at the category of women, who can be able to build now this reputational collateral through information shared to the credit bureau regarding how they access the small loans, how they pay back, do they pay back on time? So that builds a reputational character around a borrower.
By managing interest rates and reducing debt, information-regulated borrowers will assist the regulator in conducting businesses.
The dangers that exist when you are not operating under credit reference is you are likely to over-assess your clients. You give them money when they don't need that money, or you give them money which they end up diverting, which will end up causing you problems in the business. So all those are dangers in the market, and the reason why UMRA exists is to ensure that when we regulate that market, the Tier 4 market, we shall end up having business which is well rated.
Additionally, caution is issued to upcoming microfinance organizations that accept deposits from borrowers because according to the legislation, only banks are permitted to accept deposits.
Yes, we are aware that some Ugandans decide to break the law by taking deposits from the public when they have a non-deposit taking license. I therefore want to call upon the public to be aware of this, because some of these are Ponzi schemes, and these Ponzi schemes operate illegally. As Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, our mandate is to ensure that we regulate this sector properly to avoid anything like this happening in the sector.
Prior to now, only institutions regulated by Bank of Uganda could use Credit Reference Bureau services. That's according to the recently issued regulations. Any lender may now, with a prospective client's permission, examine the credit information. Ronana Habwe, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
And alright, we do take a break but return with more Business Today. Stick around to SMART24. SMART24, driving business.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel, so visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
SMART24, driving business. Well, we're back from the break. Let's continue with business today. Now, let's look at Uganda, which has opted for nuclear energy. Uganda produces its own electricity and thermal as well as hydropower facilities which are located at Nalubare, Bujagari, Chilembe, Mpanga, Nyanjati and Bugwe. According to the energy consumption pattern, residential related activities make up to 70.3% of all energy use. The rate has remained low, around 24%, despite substantial efforts over the past 20 years. Monica Navioga with the details. All right, now following that particular report, let's move on to the next particular story. As we work on that one, we look at the Uganda Securities Exchange launching EDALA. Now, the Uganda Securities Exchange Specialist Market, use EDALA, is a securities platform aimed at enabling companies which do not meet the minimum listing requirements on the exchange's public market segment access for capital of long-term funding through private placements and restricted offers. This is made possible by connecting them to select providers of capital for both equity and debt funding. Bronia Katusime reports.
This platform enables private business with several owners to profit from the efficiencies offered by the current trading platforms. Particularly, shareholders are able to trade their shares, sell their stock if they so choose, and use the platform's portfolio management capabilities. This focuses on medium-sized businesses that fit the requirements. Out of the 150 businesses, it would be successful if they admitted 10 to 15 businesses initially. If the business is growing, investors will be interested.
Introducing this new market, the USC dollar, this should provide a new perspective to how people view the capital markets, but the exchange, because this market specifically is a platform for unquoted securities. I'll probably repeat that. These are unquoted securities. Quoted securities are the securities on public markets. These are securities in the private market. And this market that we have actually created, the US specialist market, is actually a private market for capital and provision of capital. So this is where companies which do not meet the minimum listing requirements of the exchange public market segment will be supported to access capital for long-term funding through private placements or restricted offers. Can be accessed through this market will be both debt and equity. We want to facilitate high-growth companies with potential and solid growth strategies, but we may not meet the eligibility requirements of the public market segments at this point in time. To achieve the objectives of enabling them to tap into both the deep pockets and fresh expertise of professional investors to power their growth.
The specialist market is anticipated to grow and create a sustainable pipeline for listings on the other public market segments of the exchange by serving a stepping stone for the corporation to meet the standards of these segments, in addition to supporting these entities.
Overall, year on year, the numbers are improved over 100% from about 16.8 billion end of October 2021 to about 35.2 billion right now. Still depressed compared to where we were pre-COVID, before COVID, but we're now starting to see a reaction and interest in the markets. The reason why, one, companies are now paying dividends, paid dividends end of 2021. I think about 8 of the 10 companies actually did pay a dividend. And we've also seen improvement in performance. So that usually drives growth.
The market is governed by a set of operating guidelines which provide a framework for participants as well as other stakeholders that desire their various available services. Bronia Katsime, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now approximately 4 years have passed ever since government gave permission for cities to operate, but some say it was too early since even the capital, Kampala, still has some challenges to deal with. Well, tonight in the Coffee Court, we understand the situations regarding physical planning and infrastructure in the country, as one of the most crucial committees that should be addressing such issues is the Committee on Physical Planning and Infrastructure. So we want to understand the matters of physical planning and also how to address and what should be done to address physical planning issues regarding road networks and challenges with infrastructure in the country. These and more in the Coffee Court.
Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us on this Coffee Court where we discuss critical and significant matters. My name is Fred Makuya, and this time around we'll be digesting matters of infrastructure and physical planning. Now, one of the committees that is very significant in following up matters of physical planning in this country is the Committee of Physical Planning and Infrastructure Development. We digest matters with Honorable Kasolo Robert. He is the Vice Chairperson of the Committee of Infrastructure and Construction Department here at Parliament of Uganda. Honorable, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's true that I deputize the Committee of Physical Infrastructure, which oversees physical planning in the entire country.
Okay.
We do oversee it, which is domesticated under the Ministry of Lands. We oversee it, and we do make sure everything is running very well as far as physical planning is concerned.
Okay.
I'm very privileged that I've been on this committee right from the 10th Parliament. Apparently, I'm one of the leaders. Issues of physical planning has been very prominent in this committee. We started with the Physical Plan Act, which is in place. We have moved on to see that we have, which brought in so many issues like the Physical Planning Board and so forth. We have also, of recent, made a law that the Physical Planners Registration, which is an act now, to regulate the physical planners in doing their work, when executing their work. We only have one issue which is lagging, is the National Development Plan. Last week when we had a symposium in Munyunyu, the minister who came, they were saying that it's before cabinet, that a few things, principles have been tabled and so forth. So we expect this country to have a national physical development plan. That's what is only lacking.
So why has it delayed? Because you've been here, you were not the broom on this committee. Why the delay?
It has delayed because it is something which is very comprehensive, a national physical development plan, which has all the plannings for this country. It has delayed, and indeed it is a pity that it has delayed, it has dragged, and the ministers have kept telling us it's before cabinet.
Okay.
After cabinet, it will be coming to parliament for us to pass it as a parliament. But we also complain indeed that it has delayed. But as far as we are concerned, as a committee, we have made sure we work on most of the laws that have come before our committee.
Okay.
And we have made our statement.
Honorable, it's my pleasure that we are talking about urbanization, which connects to issues of physical planning, and good enough you've been around. In 2018, you approved the cities, 15 of them. Many of them have already begun operation. Let's talk about their performance in the view of how you've planned for this city as a vice chairperson.
Of course, as urbanization takes root, are you aware that in the Physical Planning Act declared Uganda a planning area, the whole of Uganda to be a planning area? And you are aware that Uganda is one of the countries which is urbanizing at a rapid rate. Now, we are worried as a country that the country is urbanizing in an unplanned manner. You understand what I'm saying?
We are together.
As if you went down your village, you will find a small car trading center. Give it 2 years, you will find when people have started building and doing what have you. On their own, they are not guided. The buildings, the towns that are coming up are not guided by the physical planning. That's the danger. we are likely to have a country which has issues. Now, when it comes to these cities were upgraded, were municipalities. They were upgraded to cities. Now, the most important key factor that would be handled first, and that makes those cities not to develop slums or spas, it would be the physical planning.
So what's your role now as the vice chairperson?
Now, we have guided and we have really seen it by, one, making sure these cities are well planned in terms of land use. Well planned, that the cities are planned to avoid future problems where if they don't plan, there will be a big problem. Okay. Now, the issue which is at hand and which is endangering these cities, that most of them are not well planned.
So who should plan for this?
Now, it's the ministry, it's government which must plan for these cities, not through the ministry. It's government, and what does that mean? It requires a budget. It requires a budget to make sure these cities, and this is something that we have discussed several times. Not that we are quiet about it, but in all forums where we have had, in all our meetings, these issues have kept coming.
So would I be wrong if I threw this responsibility to your committee, which you...
No, our committee, yes, is responsible because we do day-to-day overseeing of these ministries for them to be able to execute their work. But we are at times curtailed. Our hands are usually tied that when we don't provide them money, and yet we are the people who are supposed to provide them money. As Parliament, we can appropriate money. We say we have appropriated this much, like in the previous budget. This coming budget, we are going to do the same. We appropriate money to these entities, to the ministry, to enforce, to make sure they implement physical planning in these particular cities. But at times that money is not realized. That money is not sent to the ministry, and that comes a stumbling block.
So what do we do?
Who is to blame?
What do we do?
You can't blame us as a committee. You can't blame us as a committee. It's the people. For us, we will pass the laws, but we don't give money. It's for us, we appropriate. I think papers.
And then the responsibility is
for Minister of Finance.
No, but you could lobby for more funds as a committee.
I think it's not necessarily lobbying as per se. What I want to tell the country and the viewers is that we sit in our rooms and we plan for these things. Like the current budget running, we had a series of meetings, and our priority was physical planning. But when it came to how much money do we need to give the physical planners, people who are supposed to, it became an issue.
So what do we do? Because most of them are already in operation. Gulu, Hoima, Masaka, Mbalara, Fort Potro, Mbale, which is your neighbor, and Soroti. Many of them are already in operation. So what do we do amid this lack of enough finances?
Lack of finance is going to cripple a lot of development. If we continue in this kind of state where money is not put to key critical areas like enough physical planning, we are going to have a very big problem as a country. Because what has happened that urbanization has gone ahead of physical planning. Places are being urbanized, but the planning is not there completely. What do you expect? So my only appeal, my only thinking, my opinion, it would be that we need to prioritize these issues and give these people money for them to be able to go and do the physical planning of these areas and guide where land use in these particular cities. If government doesn't do that, there is likely to be a very big problem, and there is already a problem.
If one said you are in the right capacity to do all the lobbying as the vice chairperson, in charge of the physical planning and the infrastructure committee. You are the right person to do all the lobbying, not me, Fred Makuya.
No, we are doing our work, and indeed we are doing it. We talk to each other. We talk to at our levels. We talk to each other, and we digest these issues about physical planning and what have you. But along the way, things don't work out. What do you do?
let me bring you closer to Kampala, which has been around for a very good time. Kampala is the capital city of Uganda. Are you satisfied with the way Kampala is being planned for?
Those are the dangers. The kind of encroachment on wetlands and what have you that you are seeing in Kampala is basically due to lack of physical planning. Let me tell you, in KCCA, my committee oversees works and physical planning. But I can assure you, this year running, physical planning in Kampala never got any money. How do you expect them to perform?
No, it's a directorate.
It's the directorate.
It's just a directorate.
The directors of physical planning in KCCA didn't get any quid. What miracle do you expect from them? How do you expect them to perform? Those are the issues at hand. That offices are there, staff they are not given money. At times they're even understaffed, and they are even not well remunerated. There are issues. There are issues.
We can never have enough staff, Honorable.
Yeah, the staff may not be enough.
And we can never have enough money.
The few who are there, we may not have enough money, but let's give them money to do a bit of work, to see them at least working. We cannot demand performance from them when we never facilitated them.
So you're talking about issues of money. Do you also think, because the illiteracy level also seems to be very high, and this is not an issue that
what is very prominent is that once as government we appreciate the value of physical planning, government will channel money there. Okay. Now there is a danger that at least I believe some of us we might have seen the value of, we know appreciate the value of physical planning individually, but the whole picture of government appreciating physical planning has not come to pass.
Let's now talk about issues of infrastructure. Research has it that over around 500 buildings are falling each and every other day. We have a committee responsible for this. KCCA has a fully fledged directorate for infrastructure. Every division has a physical plan. We see buildings falling on a daily basis.
Now, those are issues that are still lingering around this committee. We have so many structures that are handling building standards and what have you. Now, within our committee, we have a body called the Building Review Board. That one oversees, makes sure to see that the building is built according to standard, it meets all the structural standards, everything, material and what have you, are all done in the right way. And they are, indeed, we appreciate they are doing it their way, but Ugandans are very stubborn. Okay. Most of these buildings, and this National Building Review Board is still thin on the ground. They are not everywhere. But at least now, there are approvals that are done for any building to be erected. There is a process that, like in a city of Kampala, you cannot just wake up in the morning and you start constructing, even if it's a toilet.
No, but we have many of them that begin in January and by April the building is
done.
Those
are the issues.
Is this okay?
Those are the issues. But we have the issue of those who don't want to do things the right way. And that is they are the majority. You realize somebody is a very rich man, is constructing a building of billions of money, but he does not want to go to the formalities.
Don't you think this is where now Ugandans will be pleased to see you, Honorable Kasoro, and all the 30 members of going to downtown, going to Chisenyi, going to Machindi?
We have done that. Of recent, we were taken to court. Over this building called Rotas. When the public alerted that the building had issues, we went there. But I am aware that the developer took Parliament to court why we went to see what have you. But I guess the judge was very patriotic enough and said...
And maybe I would ask, and maybe I would be hard on this, why wait when errors have happened? Maybe come up when the building is just on the initiation stage. Why come up when issues are...
Some of these are private buildings. Some of these are the private developments. And as Parliament, at times we can't be everywhere.
No, I thought as Parliament...
But we have our links, like National Building Review Board, which is on the ground for them. For any development, approval of a plan and what have you, they are on the ground. They are doing their day-to-day work. For us to only come in to oversee, but of course we do it let's twice or thrice in a year. To go around Kampala and what have you. But these are cases that are handled by bodies like KCCA. KCCA as a department, they are the one who authorize these buildings and what have you. They are supposed to oversee and determine that this guy's building is being built according to plan and what have you. In fact, the building at every stage is supposed to be certified that this person, these are the specifications he gave, and this is the structure, and what is on course, is following up, is following the guidelines, the plan of the house, and what have these approvals are done, and what have.
So who does the certification?
Certification is the KCCA and Building Review Board.
So if I'm out of Kampala, who does then the certification?
They are everywhere. Building Review Board, and there are local governments everywhere. If you are out of Kampala, Wakiso has that structure. They play that role to say that what is being reviewed there is according to plan. If you are in Mukono, if you are in Mbale, if you are in Budaka, they are everywhere. There are bodies which are mandated to look at whatever you are building does not endanger human life.
So what should the building, to be certified a fledged building, what should it have? We have many of them in Kampala that if you, I don't know if you do a tour downtown, but there are many that don't qualify.
That is the impunity that is being seen in the city. It's impunity and the bribe which is happening. That's why we brought in these other bodies charged with that responsibility. But there's been a lot of impunity where people, you don't need to go through the right processes. You only start building and you start talking to those people with some small money as the building is going on. Meaning, how you are constructing, how you building looks like, and is it to standard? It's not taken care of. And those are most cases. Those are the buildings that have had cases. If you went to those cases where buildings have collapsed, you realize one thing, that there were nobody was supervising it.
So if there is impunity, do we continue in lamentation? Do we continue looking at issues? Do we let the building continue exist and cause issues?
I just think we must crack a whip on people who don't want, because this is something which is to do with lives, saving lives and whatever. And most of those buildings, if you witness which have collapsed, have claimed lives. Even if it's one person, it should be something that has to be taken seriously.
And that's why maybe the public would want to see Honorable Kasolo and all his team members make a visit, come to downtown and say this building is not in the right condition.
We are doing that. I can assure you, as a committee, we draw up a program, and like we are supposed to move and go to, we see in a Kivu Stadium, because this is something that is going to have Ugandans. We don't want to have a problem where a stadium collapses after completion. Okay. That's our role, to go and look at it with our technical people to satisfy whether it's building plan and it can serve the purpose, that it's not a danger to human race. Now, it is all about impunity, but I tell you, we have good laws, we have very good engineers, we have everybody who can satisfy and make sure that this building is habitable, is suitable for human use.
I personally know that if you are talking about urbanization, you're talking about Ministry of Lands, Housing, and Urban Development. What does this ministry need to do to better issues of urbanization, issues of physical planning, issues of infrastructure?
That ministry, first of all, I can assure you, as a person who knows what is happening in that ministry, there are issues in the ministry. That ministry has issues too.
We are specific on issues of urbanization.
Yeah,
which one
urbanization, there are issues of staffing. Staffing. You realize you go to that ministry and you will find the commissioners, non-commissioners. But the people at that level are not, they cannot do day-to-day work. It requires other lower cadres who must do the
because I know Commissioner Pade, yes, Commissioner Pade keeps telling us they are understaffed. And I think this would be the recommendation you should be putting on board
they are understaffed.
As a committee.
Yes, they are understaffed, and we have raised these issues in our boardroom, wherever, in our discussions. But once the implementers have not put into perspective, what do you do?
Honorable, if we are to wind up this discussion of issues of physical planning and urbanization, what would be your parting shots?
My parting shot is that to appeal to government of Uganda that physical planning is very fundamental. It's needed yesterday. We don't need to delay. That if not, this country is not properly planned, we are likely to have a very unplanned Uganda, which will be very disastrous to the future generation. So for us who are still living and who are in a position, it's our duty to streamline physical planning, land use in this country. Where there is a wetland, let's know the value of a wetland. Where there is all those natural features must be planned if we are to save this country. Physical planning is very important, and we will not realize proper development if we don't practice physical planning. Okay. My only appeal to government is to have this country planned properly.
Honorable Robert Kasolo, thank you so much and for sparing time to speak to us on critical matters of physical planning. Next time I am on this coffee court, especially discussing issues of physical planning. Of course, I'll be speaking to the ministers responsible. I know Honorable Judith Navakova is the cabinet minister in charge of lands, housing, and urban development. Honorable Sam Mayanja, I know you are in charge of lands. Honorable Biga Kanya, I know you are in charge of issues of urbanization. And that is our coffee court for today. My name is Fred Makubuya.
Many thanks for being part of business today, wherever you've been catching us from, on GoTV channel 394 and DSTV channel 372. I'm Jerome Paul Soko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on sign language. Have a blessed night. Good evening. Till tomorrow.